What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Once again, we're going to do an injury report before the game so we know who is most likely going to play and who is not going to play. So Terrell Dobson and Terrell Dotson, not Dobson, and Elijah Campbell are out. They will not be playing in the game on Sunday. And Aaron Brewer and Storm Duck are questionable. I think Brewer's going to play. Storm Duck, I don't know. Like, he's been out for a few weeks already, so I can see that being really much of a game time decision. We are very weak in the secondary. It'll be great if Storm can play because we can plug him in immediately. Aaron Brewer is our center. We don't really have like a viable second option at center. So we really are hoping that Brewer plays because we know the O-line has been questionable to say the least, and we'll get into that in a second. But he has been incredibly solid. One of the top 7 or 8 centers in the whole league in terms of like pass rush, in terms of run blocking, pass blocking. He's been awesome. So if he's not going to play, not good, because that makes one of the few strong parts of offensive line a lot weaker. I think he's leaning towards playing, though. I think he'll give it a go regardless. Hopefully he can finish the game. Storm Duck, we just need help in the secondary because we need help in the secondary because all of our cornerbacks are hurt. This is not part of the comment. Not part of the comment. This is not part of the show today, but Cornell Armstrong has been released from the team. He is now a free agent. I didn't want to do like a full segment on it, but that did happen earlier today. He was put on IR, and then we just said, you know what? We're going to essentially buy you out of the IR. So he got a little bit of money. He's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants. Wherever he goes, he'll have to heal. But he will no longer be on the team. Shout out to Cornell. Like, we wanted to see you do well. It's your second stint with the team. 30 years old. You know, we'll see how much tread is on the tire. But if you don't hear his name be brought up, it's because he's no longer part of the team. Okay? But he was injured first. So he was on injury report just a day ago. And now he's not on the team anymore. So Tua is going to play. Darren Waller's been questionable all week, but he's supposed to play. So we have a lot of guys who are questionable, but are going to play. Only Dotson and Campbell are like for sure out from this group. So not the worst injury report, actually. We've very much had worse ones where it's like, hey, we got 4 guys in the secondary, 3 offensive linemen. This is like, all right, guys are starting to get a little bit healthier. Knock on some kind of wood. Things are starting to get healthier. Tua, again, is banged up, but Tua's going to play. So, all in all, not that bad. One of the things that Miami has been pretty good at overall this year is actually penalties. We weren't good the last couple of years because we're kind of an undisciplined team sometimes, and we make mistakes. Like, especially pre-snap mistakes, which just grind every part of my gear. It doesn't make sense to be jumping off sides when you have the ball. Like, while you fall starting, you have the ball. Whatever. That's about to start ranting. Don't want to rant. So we've been pretty good about penalties. We're actually the 11th ranked team in penalties. So that's the top half of the league, which I think if you're in the top half of the league, you're doing all right. You want to be in the top 10. We're actually at 11 right now. So, you're right there in the top 10 in penalties. That's a pretty good thing. That means that we're not making a ton of mistakes overall. Unfortunately, 40% of our penalties come in the fourth quarter. So it's not that we make a lot of mistakes, it's that we make a lot of mistakes at the worst possible time. We have 3/4 of mistakes and we're like, not bad. Fourth quarter, game on the line, specifically second half of the fourth quarters, we get a lot of our penalties. We see a lot of pass interference in the secondary, grabbing receivers because you're not disciplining your routes. We see false starts in the offensive line because what are you doing? You see Zach Sealer running into a punter. What are you doing? It's a lot of right when the game gets tight, we start making mistakes. That's what this stat is showing. Because overall, again, we're number 11 in the league. That's solid. But when the 2/5 of your mistakes are right in that last chunk when the game really matters, I know our record's not good, but if you haven't watched the games, 3 to 4 games, we could have taken the lead late in the fourth quarter. But we made mistakes, and so it didn't happen. And some of those mistakes were holding calls that didn't lead to a pick or, jumping off sides. And we did a lot of little stuff. Of course, roughing a kicker will do that. Roughing a quarterback will do that. We made a lot of mistakes that when we had a moment where the game could turn in our favor, we made a mistake. And it seems that has been a trend all year outside of the Colts game where, oof, that was a washout. That game was never close. They just kind of beat us up. But every other game, we were right in there. And then toward the end of the game, we just kind of falter. I don't know if this is a mental focus thing. I don't know if it's I know guys not being big enough for the moment. I don't know if it's something you coach. I don't know if it's even something you condone. It's just something that happens. Because if it was just one person, then you would say, hey, that one person's not doing their job. And if it was just false starts, cool. If it was just jumping off sides, cool. If it was just special teams, cool. But it's all of the above. So I guess if it's all of the above, it would have to go to coaching. And that seems fair. Because if every level of the team is faltering, whose fault could it be? Can I say the OC's not good, the DC's not good, special teams coach is not good? Like, I can't blame 4 separate coaches because all those coaches work for the head coach, right? So it seems fair to put it all on coaching, which sounds kind of bad, but it is the truth that late in games, we call the game differently on offense, we call the game differently on defense. It just seems like the team late in games does not play well. The good thing is that, again, we don't make a lot of mistakes. And I do think all these things can be cleaned up. You're literally one game away in the NFL from your fate being drastically different, right? Philadelphia lost 2 games in 4 days. But before that, they were undefeated. They were playing Denver. Denver went for 2, I thought inexplicably, while losing. Then they eventually get a game-winning score, and they put Philadelphia behind 8 ball. Philadelphia couldn't score, and then they won a game. Denver misses that 2-point conversion. Philadelphia might be 5-0 going into yesterday's game. It just happens. But now they're 4-2. And now people are like, what's going on with that team? It's like, well, 5 days ago, they were like 1 or 2 in the power rankings. And now you're like, oh, the sky's falling. That's how it works. Miami executes 1 or 2 plays late in the game. We're 3-2. We're sitting there like, hey, we're a game behind Buffalo. Not bad. Tied with the Patriots. Like, well, anything's possible. Make a couple mistakes. 1-4. What about next year? Like, that's how fast things turn. So I know we're harping on, oh yeah, it's just a little mistake here, a little thing here. The 1st and 10 turns into 2nd and 14, and you're like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. But that's how you lose. Good teams don't make those mistakes consistently, and we've been doing it consistently, and that seems to be why we lost some of our games. Now, I mentioned O-line earlier because they put out a stat today called it's the PROE, which is like the perceived rush over expected. I guess the meat of this is how many times do you do your job, how many times do you not do your job over what's reasonable. So if you're an offensive lineman and you can hold a block for 2.5 seconds, if you allow pressure after that, that's an unreasonable thing to ask of an offensive lineman, to block for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, right? But if you get beat immediately off the ball, then that's over expected because you didn't even get to like the 2.5 second threshold. If you're a quarterback and you hold the ball for 3, 4, 5 seconds and then you get sacked, i.e. Lamar, Kyler Murray, sometimes Joe Burrow when he was playing, then it's like, well, you got sacked and then we played it on our offensive line, but really you just held the ball for way longer than you should have. So that's what the stat indicates. Based on what we saw and based on the Dolphins ranking, Tua is one of the lowest in the league at holding the ball, which we know because he doesn't hold the ball. Patrick Paul, again, top 10 at pass rush, over expected, so he's doing his job. Aaron Brewer, top 7, crushing it. But then we get to left guard, right tackle. Left guard is Jonah. Jonah is the worst over expected. Like 32% of his dropbacks result in more pressure than expected. 32%. That's 1 every 3. Whoops, somebody got past me. By comparison, the score of Patrick Paul, Aaron Brewer, and Tua combined is less than what Jonah does by himself. So, I guess to say that more simply, Patrick Paul, Aaron Brewer, and Tua hold the ball less or they give up less easy plays than Jonah does individually. Our right guard situation is at 21%, which is still not great, but that's 11% less than Jonah, but still really bad. Right tackle, 26%. So when I kept saying, hey, that right side is getting destroyed, and then people keep talking about Jonah. Jonah's not doing his job. We understand that. He's a rookie. He's trying to grow. The right side, if you add and do the division, basically a quarter of the dropbacks, those guys aren't doing their job. And there's a lot of people being rotated in over there. So we have about 4 or 5 old linemen playing those 2 positions. And as a collective, they're not doing their job. Jonah singularly is not doing his job. And that's why the pressure keeps being what it is. You essentially have two guys playing top 10 ball, Tua playing top 10 in terms of how he holds the ball and gets rid of the ball, and then three guys being like, we're playing a different game. We're on this side. Y'all are here, we're over here. It's a really rough stat to see. I think the quarterback that holds the ball the longest, they had as Lamar because he's like trying to extend plays and stuff. And Tua's one of the shortest. Like that's what it is. This putting a number to the lack of productivity is like, okay, that makes more sense. Because if you go down like bad teams, you see like Carolina, you see like Houston's offensive line is awful. You can see the numbers like, oh, okay, their right tackle gives up pressure 30% of the time. No wonder they can't move the ball. When you see that both our guard positions, which were notoriously awful last year, to the point that going to this year, we said, we don't need either of y'all to come back. We brought Liam back. But we were like, we got to get two new guards in here because they were so bad. And then this year, we literally are doing the same thing, just with different people. So either we're snake bitten at picking out what guards are good and not good, or this might be an offensive line coach situation. Because how can you have effectively 4 to 6 guys playing two positions, and basically none of them are playing a position well? We haven't had a good guard in 2 years. So I don't know what that is. I mean, there seem to be a lot of good guards in the league. They just don't play in Miami. But yeah, seeing the metrics on this was like really like, whoa. It really showed when we say Jonah's struggling, that can be kind of like, oh yeah, he's just young, whatever. But when you see, oh dude, every third snap you're getting beat, that's a problem. That's a problem. So hopefully that gets better over time. I don't know how often they put this stat out. I've never actually seen this chart before. But when I saw it today, I was like, ooh. So if they do some kind of update, like second half of the season, if they do it like that, where it's like every 4 games they put one out, then I'll update you on how we're performing, and hopefully we can be trending in a better direction. Like a lot of you, I have been wondering where Jalen Wright is because he was out the first couple weeks, but he wasn't on the IR officially. So he was always eligible to come back once he was healthy. Ollie Gordon in the preseason showed out. Then he showed out a little bit in the Buffalo game. So we said, okay, cool. Ollie, you're our number 2. But Jalen Wright has actually been eligible to play. But he's just not playing. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe, we were awful at running the ball last week. Maybe this week we'll really get some Jalen action. And then he got inactivated. Now he's basically a healthy scratch. And according to him, he's been shocked and disappointed by this. Like, hey, you know what I'm doing to get back. You see the work I'm putting in. I'm healthy to go. And then not only am I not playing, but I'm not even eligible to play. Being a third back would probably not be a good thing in the world, but let's say he's eligible to play. Like he's activated. Ollie comes in as the backup, fumbles the ball. You bench him. Like, hey, young kid, you fumbled the ball. Go chill out for a second. Jalen can come in, show his worth, and be like, hey, I don't fumble. I got fresh legs. I haven't been hit all year. But the fact that he can't even prove himself on the field, I think is where the disappointment comes in. Because we haven't run the ball well the last few weeks. You think we have to turn it around at some point. Devon hasn't gotten the ball enough, honestly, in running the ball. So I think part of it is we haven't given him the ball enough. And Ollie has gotten basically no carries, like less than 5 in each of the last 2 games. But also, quite literally no yards. Like it's like 0 yards and a negative. Like he's not getting yards. So the idea that Jalen, you're not good enough to even like crack the field at all, doesn't line up with how we've been performing in the run game. It's different if Devon's got $120, Ollie's got 50, and we're like, hey dog, we got 175 yards on the ground. Don't really need you right now. Like that you don't want to hear that, especially as a third round pick, and a guy that we've put some resources into. You don't want to hear that, but it's hard to refute. Hey, the starter's got over 100, the backup's got 50, he's averaging 5 yards a carry. I want carries too, but those guys are balling. But when those guys are not balling, when Devon averaged 1.6 yards a carry and Ollie Gordon quite literally had negative yards rushing last game, and to say, hey coach, I'm here, ready to play, and you say, no, chill out for one more week. I don't know what it is, because I haven't heard from Coach McDaniel, I haven't heard from running backs coach, I haven't heard from anybody in the higher ups as to why Jalen's not playing. They might not think he's healthy yet, and maybe he's rushing himself back. If that's the case, I'm cool with it. If they're saying, hey, we don't think you're healthy yet, we'd rather wait a week or two to get you on the field, I'm good with that. Because we do have two guys who can run the ball right now. They're not running well, but they can. If they agree that he's healthy, he's cleared by doctors as healthy, and he came in the year saying, I want to prove that I could be every down back and blah, 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 and they're just like, nah, then I don't know what to do with that. Because that feels, I don't want to say it, that feels like Jalen Wright might be trade bait. And maybe they don't want to play him because they don't want him to get injured. I think I did a story a couple weeks ago about Jalen Wright at Kansas City. Like, Pacheco's not doing this job. Kareem Hunt is like 44 years old. So the idea of getting a young, cheap running back that could be really dynamic over there, the way he plays fits their scheme. He's a good slasher where he's powerful enough but quick enough. He can catch the ball. He's the perfect Kansas City running back, and also they don't have a ton of money, so he's cheap. I can easily see a trade like that happening. I can easily see that. That makes perfect sense to me. So that makes sense to me where the Dolphins are like, hey, we want you to get healthy enough, and then maybe they feature him in one game to really pump up the value and then get rid of him. Like, if that's what the plan is to trade him, then okay, I understand him not playing. But the plan is that he's going to finish his contract with the Dolphins and be here for like 2 more years. I don't know why he's not playing. If he's healthy, he's not on the injury report, so he's not on IR. So why not play him? I'm sure if he makes enough of a stink, you'll hear something. Somebody will come forward and be like, well, you know, we got plans for Jalen, and we're taking him along nice and slow. It's like, oh, you trading him? Okay, good to know. But outside of trade bait, at this point, there's not really a reason not to play him. Not if you believe in what he can do, and there's no reason. I've never heard anything up to now that we don't believe in what he can do. So my speculation, recklessly, is that he will most likely be traded, and they're just trying to not have him get hurt before that. But as always, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and the subscribes. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.